No provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu became the 16th president of Nigeria after a hard-fought victory in 2023 presidential election, where he won the presidential polls with over 8.7 million votes, defeating major contenders in the election, opposition candidates led by Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who was runner-up in the election, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, who came in third. They challenged the results on the grounds of electoral malpractice and ineligibility. Tinubu was declared winner of the February votes by the country's independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, despite international observers saying the process was marred by irregularities.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
And so it's been 1 year after, as President Tinubu marks 1 year in office on May 29, 2024. Rootstv has brought together leading experts to assess the nation's security and economic progress, from counter-terrorism efforts to economic growth initiatives. The experts examine the administration's achievements and challenges, the good, the bad, the ugly. Join us for an insightful and thought-provoking discussion on Nigeria's future as our experts explore the critical issues shaping our nation's trajectory. We start with Majid Dahiru, a current affairs analyst who focuses on security and the economy as it concerns this administration.
It will be 1 year since President Ahmed Bola Tinubu was sworn in as Nigeria's president. And the indication out there is such that his 1 year as president can be described as a journey for Nigeria that is so far not so good. What is clear is that in 1 year, he has left Nigeria worse than he met it on the day he took over as president on all aspects of national development. All indices clearly indicates this. We have a worse economy today than when he became president. Insecurity is still there, very much there, and is still expanding. And the most important thing is we do not seem to have hope, even though his campaign mantra was renewed hope. What is clear is that that hope has long faded away, and Nigerians are now not just hopeless, but helplessly so, because some of the policy decisions that has worsened our conditions as a people is one that the government is doubling down on and insisting they are the right things to be done. So it's like being in a hole and still digging. So there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So it has been a tumultuous 1 year that has dramatically, rapidly and drastically reduced the living conditions of Nigerians in a way that is unprecedented. We've never experienced anything like this before. And this is thanks to the policy decisions of this government. It's not so much about what they inherited. They just have inherited a bad situation. But 1 year after, they've made it worse.
Kabiru Adamu is a security expert. He assesses the impact of all military apparatus under the Tinubu-led government.
So if you look at the renewed hope agenda, he listed 7 things that he said he was going to do. And the ones I'll quickly mention, the ones I can remember. He mentioned reviewing the military doctrine and philosophy, reforming the police, having a single national identity, integrating the national identity database, He also talked about, I think, revamping our communities and a few other things along that line. Seven of them. If we pick the one that I think I would score him almost 100%, but is work in progress, is the integration of our identity database, which is very important in security. He immediately, after he's been sworn in, moved NIMSI to the Ministry of Interior. And now NIMSI is working with the agencies in the Ministry of Interior to have a harmonized database. The density of the integration of our national identity management system is, I think, so far only about 100 million Nigerians from the last record that was provided by NIMSI. So it means only 50% of Nigerians have been captured. We still have more than another 50% to be captured. And the other area that I'll quickly talk about is the area of security occurrences, banditry, abduction, terrorism, and all of that. My company, Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited, we keep record of such occurrences. And unfortunately, the level of achievement, there is still room for improvement. I know some of the officials of the president have claimed that the fatalities have reduced to about 200. Unfortunately, that's not true.
We spoke with Mark Amaza of Yaga Africa, a non-for-profit organization promoting participatory democracy, human rights, and civic participation.
I think without doubt we'll say we are going through quite difficult times, especially economically speaking. It's quite a rough period for most of us, for most Nigerians, and has been for the last close to a year, So I think that's in a nutshell that will aptly describe that. I mean, we can put all the numbers that backs it up, from the high inflation. We have one of the highest inflation since the mid-90s. High unemployment rates, cost of living is high, all of that.
Kabiru Adamu, our security expert, Mark Amaza of Yaga Africa, and Majid Dahiru, they all contend that Tinubu's administration has yet to make significant progress in tackling Nigeria's long-standing security challenges, even as it marks 1 year in office.
What, in essence, what I'm trying to say is that the measures that the government are taking, first off, they are not sustainable. They are not addressing the root causes of our security challenge. What are the root causes of our security challenge? Socioeconomic grievances, the cost of living crisis, high unemployment. Inflation at the moment is at the highest rate that it has been in the last 20 plus years in the country. Most people cannot afford to feed. Proliferation of small arms and light weapons, our porous borders, climate change, and our inability as a country to introduce adaptation measures, our ineffective criminal justice system that is failing to arrest and punish offenders. Those are some of the root causes of our security challenge. Of course, I must also mention geopolitical issues that occur or have originate from outside Nigeria but now impact Nigeria. So there is room for improvement in that area. I think the general belief is that physical force, especially military force, can be used to address some of these issues. Yes, military force is important to contain the issues, but what is more important is to address the root causes. And I think part of the mistake the administration, especially some of its officials, are making is to attempt to move alone without involving the governors. Most of these challenges, the root causes that I mentioned, are at the state level or at the local government level. So until the administration brings on board the governors and make local government autonomous, let them have their capacity to operate and then get their buy-in in implementing the policies, unfortunately, we won't see any progress. It's just 1 year, so it's very difficult to assess somebody in just a spate of 1 year. But like we say in my native language, the Friday that would be good, it's on Wednesday that you see the indicators. So unless there is a conscious effort to address these root causes through getting the buy-in of the governors and the local government chairman and each and every Nigeria, so that the much touted all of society and all of government approach is now implemented, we're not getting anywhere.
Okay, on the fight against insecurity, there is one aspect that I can actually give some credit to the president. And what is that aspect? Unlike before, particularly in the past 8 years of the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the president has been better at managing Nigeria's diversity. The president has extended the olive branch to all sections of the country. He's spoken the right words in that regard. He has been able to bring everybody on board. We do not have a situation today where any section of the country is excluded or marginalized from certain key and strategic offices in the land, particularly in the security services. And so despite, for example, not having much support from the Southeast, the president made a clean break from the past by not having a policy of exclusion of that region because of their failure to vote for him or contribute to his victory. Rather, he has adopted a conciliatory approach. And so for the first time in a long while, the Southeast has been included in the top echelon of Nigeria's security services. So the chief of naval staff, for example, is from the Southeast. And even in his cabinet, we've seen that an important position, such as the Minister of Works, has also been given to the Southeast. And we've seen that he's been very open to interactions, to a rapprochement with that region that was estranged from the Nigerian state in the last 8 years of the Buhari administration. So what that has resolved is that the Southeast people are now warming up to their country, Nigeria, and to his leadership. And so a major security challenge that we have faced from that region, which is IPOB or ESN insurgency, appears to have reduced, because what was fueling it, the legitimacy that these soldiers enjoyed in that part of the region of Nigeria, is no longer there, because the government has done the needful by extending inclusion, fairness, equity, and justice to that part of the country in a manner that has, brought succor and peace to that region. So to this extent, in terms of the soft approach to security, he has done well. And that is why today, we do not have as serious a security situation in the Southeast as was 8 years ago, or even just a year ago.
But I think another huge thing we are missing in this conversation is that there's also a deficit of trust. It's one thing to ask Nigerians to endure these pains for this long period, while at the same time you're appointing the largest cabinet ever. It becomes a hard sell to explain to the average Nigerian, to the Nigerians, that these pains are just for the short term. When you have 50 ministers, how many? This is the largest cabinet ever.
Our experts are of the opinion that Nigeria's current trajectory demands a comprehensive overhaul. Bold, inclusive policies are needed to revamp security, jumpstart economic growth, and tackle corruption head-on. Business as usual won't suffice. By harnessing expert insights and citizen ingenuity, the country can chart a new course forward, a more just, prosperous, and secure nation.
That is what it sought, that floats is national currency. No. You can devalue your currency from time to time if you have presence on your foreign reserve. But to float is a concept that nobody has tried and succeeded before. So China does not float its currency. Japan does not. America does not. Britain does not. No country in the world that is reasonable floats a national currency. So the moment they floated or pronounced the flotation of the naira, speculation drove it downhill. So it started floating towards Zimbabwe and floating towards Venezuela at the same time. So that was why we experienced currency crisis, in addition to energy crisis, because we can no longer afford petrol. The price of petrol today has made the cost of goods and services skyrocket, and it is still increasing. And with the devaluation of the naira, or the flotation of the naira that led to its devaluation or depreciation, has also added to the cost of petrol and cost of goods and services generally. So Nigeria right now is swimming against the tide of debilitating inflation. And it is still rising. So for me, why this has created a problem for us, the way out of this is not just to blame the Tinubu administration as though this was entirely their fault. It will only be their fault if now that they have seen the devastating effect of their policies and they do not make a detour. But to help them to make that detour, we as Nigerians must put forward an alternative economic thought process that deviates from what the IMF and the World Bank is prescribing to us that has not worked, and has not worked in any country. And so we need to tell the government today, for example, that to reverse the crisis we're facing today in the economy, we need to reverse the policy of subsidy removal on petrol and the flotation of the naira. So the government must, as a matter of urgency, reimpose subsidy on petrol back to the levels they met it in 2023, May 29. It's very important. Secondly, everything must be done to show up and support the naira back to the value they met it, which was even not so desirable. But at least if you can make an improvement on something, don't make it worse. So take us back to where you met us. So reverse these two policies for starters. And let us have a conversation around how to really move forward as an economy and as one of the leading countries in Africa.
My view on the administration's 1 year in security. Unfortunately, meetings of the National Security Council have not been frequent. If I'm right, only one council meeting has been held in 1 year, and that's not acceptable. Several things have happened in the country that warrant the National Security Council to be held. So if, for instance, based on the fact that the administration has put food security in under the National Security Council, it means we should have been having regular meetings to address and look at the issue of food security, but I don't think that is being done at the moment.
In inclusiveness compared to their predecessors, better is not yet at that point we'll desire it to be. We have a lot more. In the previous government, there was no minister below the age of 45. You have a few more now. You have a few more agency heads are also young. But then it's beyond just the inclusiveness at the appointments. It's all about the specific programs that will build develop capacity of young people to not just engage in government, but also engage in our economy and democracy and overall. And we haven't seen that yet. So 1 year we still haven't seen those programs for young people, and there doesn't seem to be an overarching agenda in that regard.
Many Nigerians have different views and metrics to measure the success or failures of the Tinubu-led administration. Those familiar with his leadership style recognize his propensity for implementing bold reforms that would ultimately lead to success in the near future. Therefore, it was no surprise when he announced the elimination of fuel subsidies in his inaugural speech. While some of them point to the state of the economy, insecurity, electricity tariff, subsidy removal, policy failures, many might also praise this administration's stride on national cohesion, student loans, and the 3MC, amongst others. Our experts have given a fair analysis of the Tinubu-led administration in the past 1 year. They agreed that President Tinubu, keenly aware of the necessity to revitalize the economy, has extensively engaged with stakeholders from both the public and private sectors. National security has presented a significant challenge for past administrations, and the current Tinubu-led government has had to devise strategies to address these issues. To quote Alice